Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Weekly DLC. I'm one of your hosts, Krosh, joined always by my co-host, the birthday boy, Daniel
Is
Vargas.
the video working?
Yes. And my other co-host, Dana Jane.
Onigri.
And if you're not familiar with us, we come to you sometimes from conference rooms, sometimes from our beach house resorts. We sit around, we talk about nerdy stuff, usually nerdy in nature, movies, comics, games, everything in between. And we have a fun time usually. And yeah, let's just get right into it. Episode 87. Guys, how have you been?
I've been good.
What have you been up to?
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing.
So you went from doing like 10 things last week
To nothing.
to just cold turkey. I'm just going to...
I mean, I've continued to play World of Warcraft.
Okay.
I've continued to quit Destiny 2.
You did it again?
I mean, I just haven't played it. Like, I haven't had the urge to.
Has Roberto not been on?
He hasn't been on either.
And then you left me on PC.
I
So you
can
just-
log in. It's still downloaded. You just hit me up, dude.
Okay.
What else? I mean, that's it. I was supposed to watch My Neighbor Totoro on theaters, but I decided not to since
Why?
I've seen it. I've already seen it.
Okay.
My
The other
decision
ones
was
that
to,
you've done...
the ones that I haven't seen, I've been watching. The only one I missed was the I don't know the name of it, but it's the raccoons.
Oh, Pompoko.
Right, yeah.
That's
For
like
some reason,
the
I thought that was
raccoon nuts.
Poco Rosso, but yeah, you're right. Pompoko, I haven't seen, and I
What's
missed
the next
it.
one?
The next ones are all the ones we've seen. I think the next one is Spirited Away.
Okay. So you've now seen the ones you've missed.
Yeah, other than Pompoko,
Okay.
I've seen all the other ones. Yeah.
Cool. Nothing else?
I pre-ordered Red Dead Redemption 2
Yes.
and Kingdom Hearts.
Speaking of nuts, horse nuts. Red Dead. I mean, there was the talk of like the
Speaking
horse
of-
testicles will
Horse
shift.
nuts.
They're shriveled.
Batman's.
Batman's nuts has been on Fun Comics actually, but I don't want to gloss
Spoil.
over. It's your birthday,
And
and happy birthday
thanks, I guess.
from all the fans from the podcast. And like any birthday, sometimes you might get a gift.
Oh my
And since you already have Forsaken,
What
what do you think it is, Jay?
Has to be something Destiny related. No?
Since I already have
Stranger
Forsaken.
It is a little Stranger Thing. No, I got you
Ooh.
Mega Man.
Dang, I'm glad I didn't pick it up because I was.
I thought
literally-
you might have. When you said I did nothing, part of me was like, thank God.
You're
He's like,
nothing
I
at all?
beat
Did you pick something?
Mega
And then
Man
when I was
11.
like, oh, I pre-ordered, you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
I do not have.
So
this
now
game.
next
Thank you
week I
very
better
much.
hear.
Oh, I'll beat it. I'll be on. I'll be
Seriously.
on Keith's level.
Yeah. So yeah, happy birthday.
Thank you. Very excited.
Anything exciting coming up, or you looking forward to this
Um,
next year or this last year? What do you think? Daniel Vargas, year in review.
Stranger Things.
I mean, that's what I fucking.
I mean, I have nothing. I'm going to start trying to work out. I
Okay.
mean, there's that. I guess I'll be going to New York next year.
Hey,
That's going to be the family destination.
New York, New York.
New York, New York.
Okay,
Nintendo store.
Oh yeah, we can check that out. Yeah, I guess so.
we'll
like,
be with you.
Normally, like
Vargas, me and Jagger in the back. Like,
normally, within Mexican families, like we celebrate like 15th year birthdays. Like it's a specific like coming of age year, so we celebrate more than normal.
okay.
And instead of doing something like that for my sister, my mom was like, let's do a family vacation to wherever she wants to go.
That's really cool.
And she was like, you can tell she's kind of like enticing her to do like what is it called? Like a cruise line, cruise ship type of
okay.
thing.
Yeah, yeah.
But she's like, I think it's like she's in that rebellious stage. You're like, whatever you tell me to do, I'm not going to do. And so she chose New York. And my mom's like, she's in the mindset of like, if we do a vacation, it should be like a resort type of thing. Like
away
every
from
day
the
there's
city.
something. Yeah, every day there's something to do. And she doesn't understand like how to be a tourist. So she's like, New York, like there's nothing to do there. So she's just like,
It's too much to do.
yeah, because she wants to do like, you know, if you go to resort, like every day there's
Yeah.
like vacation stuff. If you go to like specifically like Orlando, like there's like the Atlantis water park resort,
Okay.
and then next to that there's Disney.
Yeah,
next to
yeah,
that
I can
there's
see where
Universal
you
Studios.
what
So she's like,
vibe she's
yeah,
in.
exactly. So she's like, you're 15. Like, what the hell do you want to go to New York for? But then I told her like, dude, there's Like that's where like Broadway is really huge, so we can do a Broadway show. I mean, there's that. There's the
Harry Potter.
Oh, that too.
there's the Freedom Tower. There's the
Statue of Liberty.
Statue of Liberty. Yeah, just different locations,
Yeah.
and then there's like big famous stores there too. There's like the Apple store is a
Times
pretty big one.
Square.
Times Square, like Nintendo store. So I was
Cool.
like, yeah, there's a lot to do. So
That's cool. It's exciting.
yeah,
It'll be a good year ahead of you.
See Casey Neistat.
Maybe you could take her to 368.
Oh yeah, 368. Like she's an upcoming entrepreneur.
Yeah. Jang, what have you been up to?
Stardew Valley and Resident Evil 4. Halloween streams are lit. So we took a break from Hyperlit.
Are you
Hyperlight.
harvesting pumpkins,
Not yet.
cornfields?
Blueberries.
So I had told you what I felt like Stardew Valley was.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like that was an accurate depiction of what
I
I told you
I can't
it was
describe it.
I told you like it was like a hardcore version of like Animal Crossing. Like time and energy is like huge.
I don't
in
think it's
that game.
hardcore.
No.
I think it's really chill.
Okay.
I
'Cause
feel
you
like
got-
if you want it, from what I understand of
Mhm.
it, if you want it to be, you can have it be.
Well,
like
there is like a stage where there's like actual enemies in the game.
Yeah.
Like,
There's combat. If,
okay.
no,
I
but there
don't
was that.
feel-
Remember when you were starting your character,
Mhm.
you could choose like your farm,
Right,
And
right.
the last one you had like enemies on your farm, not just
Yeah.
like going in
They're
specific areas.
so slow. I don't think there would be much of a problem. I should have done that one. Like I regret, but it's chill. Dude, there's a missable thing. It's stressing me out because there's a 3-star event with one of the 3-heart event with one of the characters. If you miss out on year 1, you can never see that event. So I'm trying to fucking get this dude to get 3 hearts. This guy is super picky, man. He's like really pissing me off, and like the items that he likes, I don't have yet. I don't have access to it, and I have no idea how to get
You're
it.
like, can't you love me for who I am?
Oh my gosh! And it was his birthday, and I gave him a birthday gift, and he was like, "That's whatever." Like, that's when you're supposed to give him the stuff that he likes, and it's supposed to boost your hearts. And I'm screwed. I'm on the end of summer. I got fall before because you had to do it before winter, and then I'm screwed.
He's
right
calling you right now.
now. And that wasn't mine.
And the guy's like that again. It was whatever.
But yeah, I'm digging Resident Evil 4, dude. It's fun.
Yeah, I saw you playing it, and
It's
my
fucking-
girlfriend was like, "Do you like this game?" I'm like, "That was the first Resident Evil I played." 4, because I never like every time I seen Resident Evil, I was at a friend's house and they were showing me like a GameCube one. I think it was 2 remade, and I just didn't like the controls and the camera. I was like, "This is not the style of game I would play." And then when I heard of 4 and I saw 4, I was like, "Okay, I feel less helpless." And I feel like the camera works with you more. So I was like, I'll give it a shot. And I was like, this game is amazing.
It scared me.
What did it do?
It never scared me. So a guy climbed up the window and he hit me, but I didn't see him climb up the window, and I saw him telegraphed his attack, and it scared the hell out of me. Oh,
It's just like a normal dude, like
yeah, it was just a normal hench guy. But that game has never scared. I don't know if you remember Oven Men. That's the only scary part in the game, and when that happened for me for the first time, he missed, so it didn't scare me.
The crossing the water scared me.
It is. I mean, if you think about it, if you're in a real life situation,
That would scare the
that would
fuck
creep
out of
you.
me.
Yeah, that would creep you out.
Yeah.
But I think Dead Space 2 is next. I don't know. I'm torn between Dead Space 2 and Amnesia 2.
You're mistaken because Red Dead 2 would be out by then, dude.
Now I think I'm gonna finish. I think I'm like halfway done with Resident Evil 4.
Okay, other Halloween games, you could go back to Red Dead Haunted.
I could. Oh shit, that would be really smart. That was actually really smart to do. It's just boring, dude. The
I know,
original,
but it's smart.
the original, the original Red Dead is so much better. But I might do that.
Even for a day.
Yeah, I might do it. I might
Pick
do
up that horse. What is it
I
called?
got all the rare horses, dude.
No, but
Everything.
the undead version. There's a famous horse.
I
too.
got all.
What
I got
the
all
He's
5.
got all the...
And the unicorn was the hardest one to get. That's what I'm rocking right now. But, what's crazy about Resident Evil 4? I haven't played it in probably 3 years. I remember
Nothing.
everything.
Uh-huh.
Everything, dude. It's just like that's the game I've replayed the most.
Okay.
I've probably beaten it
I feel like
12 times.
Damn.
Yeah, it's fun because it has New Game Plus. Like New Game Plus makes it bearable.
I feel like it's like the Matrix when he learns kung fu. He's like, I know everything.
Well, apparently
He's
not,
like,
because
"Show
Just
me."
beginning to believe.
I got scared.
Oh, shit.
Apparently not, because I got scared. But yeah, Dead Space 2 I think is next,
Okay.
or Amnesia 2.
Getting in the Halloween mood.
I would do Dead Space. Amnesia, dude, is
It's
Fuck
cool.
that.
They
God
said, no,
damn
they said it's the
it,
scariest
it
game
is.
of all
Have you
time.
never
because it
played
does
Amnesia?
I've
it does
seen videos.
it does Cover of Darkness very, very well.
Well, for me, it's like I remember we were like, let's try it. We got it for like super cheap, and my brother and my cousins and I just sat around, and I was the one controlling the computer, and they watched, and they're not feeling anything, but I'm sitting like just being the one in control. It's like a shroud of fear comes over you, and as soon as I gave the controls to someone else, I'm like, I don't feel it anymore. Like, it's fine.
It was the
I'm
same
like,
thing. When Slenderman was a huge thing.
Yeah, that game.
We were all playing like in a friend's room, like pitch black, and I remember watching. I'm like, oh, whatever, that's dumb. And like as soon as I sit down to play, I'm like, oh shit! Like you feel like you're actually there. You're like, this is a little bit freaky.
Anything else for getting the Halloween mood?
Oh, I went to a event, LA Game Night.
Oh, how was it?
They do a podcast too, which is very weird.
Did you talk to him?
I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't want to like
Promote ourselves.
Collab.
It's, like, weird. I mean, I got the Instagram of one of the game makers.
Okay,
So,
cool.
there was like 3 indie games, but I couldn't play one of them because some dude was hogging it.
Son of a bitch.
But there was this like really cool, like, it's hard to describe. It was like a 4-player free for all, but you have like different weapons, and the map is all shadows, so you can't. There's certain lights in certain areas, so that's when you can see people and you can shoot them.
Is this one you've talked about?
Yeah, we were no, I didn't talk about it, but we it was
It's a battle royale.
yeah, it's like 4v. It's like one.
It's
it's 4 versus
It's
all.
like a death match. It's like a death match.
Yeah. And then like you could like as soon as you shoot, it lights up where you're at, but no one knows where you're at until
No, people can see you if
Okay.
you shoot, and then
Oh.
they
It
can
was
attack.
Okay.
it was
It's like Battle On, something on.
I don't know if it was Comic-Con or where. No, it wouldn't have been Comic-Con. I don't know what convention we went to where there was a point where you had to play games where they gave you like a badge for that game that you played. Why can't I remember?
Comic-Con?
PSX?
Was it
Comic-Con,
PSX?
Nintendo
Because they give you the cards.
Might have been. Yeah, I think it
Oh,
might.
okay.
Yeah, I think it was PSX then. And I saw it there.
Okay.
and
Interesting.
The developers were there, and it was cool.
Nice.
There were, the VR one was kind of cool. It was like very. The guy that I follow on Instagram, inspired by PT, didn't scare me, but it was cool.
Okay.
Should go to. A
I saw
future one.
your comic book artist just nonchalant.
Oh
Just,
yeah.
like, looking
Okay,
around.
so like the concept of the game is there's a doll and she's trying to help you escape the haunted
Nope.
house.
Nope.
Right. But the thing is, like, she helps you out with one of the items. She's just standing there, and you pick up the item and you put it in the dollhouse, right? But like, she gets randomly generated, and you have to find her again, pick up the second item, and then go back to the dollhouse. The problem is there's this ghost that follows that is like. It's just like search like Ethan, like Resident Evil 7, just like looking for you, and it only moves towards you when it hears sound, and so like I think I broke the
A little
game.
bit lower.
I think I broke the game because so you could pick up items and throw, and then like the ghost would be like that. So what I was doing is I would pick up items and I would throw it behind me, and I'd pick up two, and then like I got caught, and he's like, yeah, I think we got to figure that out because you're not supposed to like throw items behind you. I was just like picking items and walking forward, throwing items behind me. But it was cool.
Cheater.
They should call you back. Be like, what else can this guy find for us?
Yeah.
He is the indie gamer. That's pretty cool. You reading anything?
October Country, Ray Bradbury, just like slowly
Okay.
because it's Halloween.
Yeah, yeah, October.
Yeah, that's it.
Cool.
Stranger Things season 2. No,
I know.
I tried.
I know.
Daredevil, I will watch. Because that trailer, though.
It's gonna be good. I've been playing Octopath Traveler. It's quite fun. I have no clue what's going on. Every chance I get, I skip story. All I want to do is just level my characters up.
What if there's like a important decision, yes or no? You just
No. I'll be like, what would Jeng do? Like, no.
throw items behind my back.
But no, I really love the combat. Like, I'm playing mostly handheld because it's a type of game that I would love to just. I've been playing it while I'm doing other stuff, like watching movies and shows, and it's perfect for that for me. I love the art style. the whole random encounter thing is wearing thin on me. But then right when I found out that it was like it was that realization hit. I found out that the main guy that I've picked to start with, which you can't change out of your party, you can change the other 3 people out of your party, but not that person. And I started with he's like the scholar, and one of his like passive abilities is having less random encounters.
Oh, that's funny.
So I've equipped that, and I was like, all right, the game knew, it worked out.
repellent.
Yeah, fucking Zubats everywhere. No, there was like one time because I was just keep running into these random encounters, and I accidentally stumbled. It tells you like if you walk into a section, it's like this is level 20 section, and I was like 15, and I was like, I just want to get out of like fight this. I didn't know you could run from encounters either.
Yeah.
Until this encounter, and they didn't hurt me. They were just a bunch of tiny little shits, but there was like 8 of them. They blinded me, they confused me, they put me to sleep, they made me so I couldn't do anything, and I was just like, how do I hit you to make this stop? And then eventually I killed them, and it cost me everything. And then after that, I was like, there's got to be a run button. Oh, there was a run button. I'm an idiot. And so from every encounter after that, I was like, run till I can get to a save point, because I was like, I don't want to lose progress. But it does pretty good, because what happens is right now I'm still getting the last 2 people in my party. And I'll have like my first guy, he's like level 17. My new guy's level 1. The way they have, I don't know if it's like smart leveling, they have it where everyone in the party levels, but like it ends up getting everyone around the same point fairly quickly. So the level 1 will just super quickly pick it up, and then as they get closer to
It slows down.
It slows down, yeah. So. But my coworker was telling me, he's like, eventually you can get to a point where you can unlock additional job classes that you can assign to any party member, so that you're not reliant on a specific person in your party to stay all the time. You could rotate it out and still maintain those utilities like support or healing or whatever. So it's a lot of fun. I like if you're a fan of the turn-based Final Fantasy, like old school, I think it'll scratch that itch.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you the first thing about the story. So,
So tell me about the story.
But what I've been doing while playing that is exploring the realm of Middle Earth, and I've finished my journey of the extended Lord of the Rings, and all 3 of them.
Holy shit.
It's not that much.
That's like 16 hours.
I mean, each one's like 4 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm doing laps around you guys with the Stranger Things shit.
Yeah.
So
That's like one season of Stranger.
it's like torture, dude. If I was in hell, you'd make me watch season 2.
okay. Anyway, so I've watched Lord of the Rings, and I grew up I was remembering how I first was introduced to this series, and it was with the Scholastic Book Order. I started reading the books, and I remember some of the games. It was kind of like all the stars lined up. What happened was, I remember right around that time, Xbox was out, at least when I was exposed to it. The Scholastic Book Orders had the books, and I think the first movie was just out.
Okay.
So I start reading the books, and then I see the movie. The Fellowship. And then I remember that, not the first game, but the second and third games, like after subsequent years later, when the second game came out, was one of the fucking best hack and slash. Like the EA, like it was the movie adaptation. It's like co-op hack and slash, and I love that game. Like I still look back on it, I'm like, I want them to remaster this. And then I continued reading the books. And I remember my brother and I, we largely on our travel, like we lived in a literal town, and we would drive to the big cities to like do fun activities, like go to the mall, see crazy stuff, shopping, Best Buys, all whatever, just like a little bit of the city stuff.
Yeah.
And on that drive, it was usually an hour or 2, and we eventually got a little DVD player, but we only had like 1 or 2 DVDs, and one of them that every time we'd take with us, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, and Two Towers. I've seen those on so many fucking times. As I was watching them, Katie was just like walking around, and I would just like quote it, like not even like a big moment.
Yeah.
It would just be like this random fucking moment where it's like just some small scene, and just like how many times have you seen this? I'm like, too many. But I'm looking at it now, and it's great because I look at it through 2 lenses. One, I've read a lot of trivia on them, and I've seen, I know many people have seen this, but like they talk about who was originally offered certain roles. and Nicolas Cage was one of the first people offered a role, and it was for Aragorn, who what's his name?
Viggo Mortensen.
Viggo Mortensen is the actor who reprises that role, and I'm like looking at this movie, I'm like, how would it have worked? I don't see it. Like it would have been so fucking different, because like he would be opposite of Liv Tyler in a romantic relationship, talking to Agent Smith.
With his receding hairline.
But it would have probably been around the Con Air days, so he's still sort of like a younger. Like I'm not imagining current present day Nick Cage. I'm imagining
And
younger.
hair a little bit longer from Con Air. You know, like.
Yeah. And I'm like, man, this would have been such a. And like Liam Neeson as Boromir.
Oh, wow.
It could have worked. It would have been different, you know. And then Uma Thurman as Liv Tyler's character, and a bunch of other ones. Sean Connery as Gandalf.
You know how
That's weird.
I feel like there's so many damn movies where it's like, you know, like the first person to they thought about filling a role was Nick Cage, and I'd be like, I just feel like this wouldn't have been a serious movie had he been in this goddamn movie. Like it just wouldn't be a serious movie.
It might have been, yeah.
And
like
this,
Neo,
which
was
is
another one.
weird, which because
Superman.
he's played like serious roles. But like, if I just think of him in a movie that I already say is serious, I just don't think the movie's gonna be serious anymore. Like I just can't see it. You know, it's just like it's gonna be a comedy now. It's gonna have a bunch of humor.
Yeah, it changed. Like he has this effect. I don't know. But anyway, so I'm seeing it through that, and then the other side I'm seeing it is like people grew up. Like people talk about they lived through seeing the original Star Wars in theaters. Like that's sort of like iconic moment for them. And I didn't live through that, but I saw it later, and like many of us. But for me, I'm like, I can say that for at least from the theatrical point, the movie point of view, I've seen these movies. I've come out in theaters, watched them at home, see them get continuations and so on and so forth. I'm like, this is like my generation's like that, like Star Wars, and then looking at the long term impact it had, like what Return of the King did, the grand scale of all this storytelling. I'm like, I don't think Game of Thrones would have been possible if it wasn't like stuff like that, like
I think so.
grand scale, but in a TV format, and like doing that same sort. Because you look at the thing that made, I know The Hobbit gets a lot of shit, and there's an interesting reason for that. And it's one of them is is the pre-production. People overlook how much time and energy was put into pre-production for the original Lord of the Rings. They put so much time and care in figuring out how to set everything up before an actor even stepped on the stages they said. That so much planning went into everything working the way it did. And right now, like what I'm doing after I finished them, I was like, I want to watch all the features. So I'm learning about Tolkien, and I want to reread the books again, because like hearing the symbolism and like how his writing process was, it's so interesting. Like he's like, England doesn't have its own like something that was started in England mythology. Like they took a lot of inspirations. Like,
I mean, if you look at Harry Potter, dude, a lot of it's inspired, like the spiders.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
no,
Hobbit
yeah,
scene.
that's funny you bring it up, because we're now watching all the Harry Potters as part of like, I've been in more franchise movies, but also Halloween. It was like, first thing I want to do start of October is watch these Potters, and I'm seeing similarities like you're saying.
Dude, it borrowed a lot.
Yeah, well, just as a whole, like this grand scale, I'm like, I can see similarities to that, to other things. But Tolkien, like his whole passion was, I want to make, or one of his many passions, I mean he had many, but one of them that caught my interest was he thought England should have its own mythology, and that's what he worked towards building. Was before he even decided to write this story of Lord of the Rings, he was just working on a world. He's like, I'm gonna write 8, all these different languages for the elves, for these, for that, this is the world, this is this, and he's like, you know what, something like all this will eventually lead, he writes stories, and eventually this one story caught the audience's attention, and that brought him to the public eye much more. It was interesting, and I'm still learning. I'm on the second movie's special features now, and hearing the actors, like Boromir hated flying, so there was one shoot where they had to fly a helicopter to get to. It was like in the cliffs, and he's like, I'm not doing that. So what he did was he just started climbing the cliff face in his costume. He's like, I'll do it. And then he gets to the thing. He's just like, fucking judge. He's like, I'm not getting in that helicopter.
And they're like, do you want to go back down? He's like, I'll do the helicopter now.
And that was, I didn't know that those movies were Orlando Bloom's first time in a feature film.
Oh, wow.
And so like they often, like Liv Tyler was like, I wanted, like everyone had a bond even the people that weren't always there, and she was one of the few ones that was not always there, but she felt like one of the group, and they welcomed her as one of the group. And she's like, I always kept an eye out for him because I didn't want such a big production or such a big first experience in cinema to have a negative impact on him, because you could oftentimes get overwhelmed by all this. And I'm like, that's really cool. Like, these people really cared for each other, and like that bond. Like, and I'm watching the movies, and I'm like, I know everyone makes fun of the Frodo-Sam relationship, but like, it's so many other bonds in that movie. Aragorn and Legolas, Gandalf and Frodo.
Well, the story's about friendship.
Just so many.
Lord of the Rings is like, it's about friendship.
Yeah,
Like, that's
and
the
like,
main theme.
I love, like, the extended ones highlight a lot more of it too with side characters, and I'm like, I love this so much. It's so cool. And yeah, we're watching Harry Potter now, and I'm appreciating it, and that sort of led me to my topic for today, so we can get into that, I guess, after this. But I had one other thing.
Games, books, movies, events.
Just I've been watching Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter.
Venom's getting crapped on.
I'll probably watch that when it's at home. I don't think I'm in, because I read sort of like bits about it that I was like, I don't care if I get spoiled, but it kind of sounds like the story was what was shit, and they rushed it, and like his acting is pretty interesting, but that's a bummer. I am excited about the other one, the Spider-Verse.
Oh yeah,
Nick Cage is in it.
Spider-Ham's in it.
He's Detective Noir Spider-Man.
Oh my god!
Because there's an anime. There's like a bunch of Spider-Man.
I've seen it. Spider-Pig.
Spider-Ham.
Yeah. And then today I kind of got an itch to just jump back on Destiny a little bit. I took a little bit of a break after the Iron Banner and I wanted to play some on my Switch. So yeah, it's been mostly it.
Cool.
Getting in the Halloween mood. Thinking of costumes. So that'll be fun. Do you guys want to jump into topics?
Let's do it.
Should I start?
We can start with yours.
Okay. So, brought up Harry Potter. Watching these movies. We're now on the third movie. And just certain things started getting highlighted for me that really irked me. And part of it was the school and how it's run and how it works and doesn't work. And I was like, I didn't want to come at it with one strong bias of like the school system in Hogwarts is failing or suffering or negative, but I came at it like, I wanted to pose the question, is the school systems in some of these fictions, the worlds that we know, and it's not just Harry Potter, but I'm starting with Harry Potter for me, is it a good system, or is it not a good system? Does it have its flaws?
Is it a failing system?
Yeah, is it a failing system? So I wanted to know what you guys' thoughts were, if you thought of other schools as well. For me, I'm largely thinking of the childhood years. Like, I know there's like Starfleet Academy and Star Trek, but that's usually after they've grown up. They've become adults. They're now attending Starfleet Academy to become a part of Starfleet.
Yeah.
So it's like police academy or boot camp, stuff you do outside of your basic education. But there's a few schools that I could think of that were like, we're starting at young childhood and taking you through to when you become an adult. What are you guys' and either of you have any thoughts out the gate?
Well, I think you brought up a good point, and I don't know if I'm jumping like into the advanced portion of this talk, but you talked about like the basics, like math, English, like this stuff in most of the Harry Potter isn't shown. But I think early, because they're not supposed to be.
They don't get called to school till like 11 or 12.
Yeah, until they're like 11 or 12 years old. So essentially, 12 years old would be literally starting high school, I guess in U.S. standards.
Sure. Let's use that as a basis.
So then, like, instead of going to, so as soon as you finish junior high, so as soon as you finish 11th grade, you're jumping into magic school. So,
but I think most of the students in Hogwarts are not from the Muggle world. I don't know the percentage. Maybe it's like 80%.
So would you say it's what do they learn before then?
I have no idea.
Yeah, when it comes to specifically when it comes to Harry Potter himself.
Yeah, there's
Harry Potter and
Hermione's are two examples where they have Muggle parents.
Yeah,
and they live in the Muggle world, and then they go to this school.
But then it shows like what are their names? Ron's the Weasleys.
Yeah.
The Weasleys are based in the human world, or like the Muggle world, because they help. I remember there's a part where they help Harry Potter get into the wizard world by going through that platform.
They live out like in the countryside,
Right.
so I don't.
I think they might have just picked him up like to be able to take him
yeah.
to school. Okay.
The one example I'll bring as a counter to as something to compare Hogwarts to in fiction is Xavier's School of Higher Learning. It's a great, kids go into this school. It's a choice, both from mutant parents, I guess, and also non-mutant parents. But there's scenes in the movies, for instance, I'll use the movies as an example, where Professor Xavier's teaching them physics or American history.
Mm-hmm.
And then they also have classwork where it's about their mutant powers.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit of both. And then I was like, okay, would that pertain to people at Hogwarts? Why or why not? And those are some of the thoughts I had. Or even like if I just think like I was reading some articles of like arguments for and against it. And one point brought up was like, take Hermione, for instance. Her parents don't know shit about this school. Like, when has a parent visited the school to check it out to see if it's okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think it's really, like, you never hear it or see it. So, for all intents and purposes, it's like, this letter comes, you go. Like, is it required? Like, if did Hermione have a choice, for instance? And then it kind of prepares you for living in their world and working in their world. And they have a variety of jobs. I originally thought it was all Ministry of Magic jobs, but Katie is a really big fan as well, and she started pointing out there's the newspaper, there's the fine arts. Yeah, there's professors. But then I'm like, okay, going into the professors on a side note, what's the credentials of being a professor? Because Gilderoy Lockhart like has jack shit credentials. He's just a famous person, and he doesn't know shit. And he's teaching kids. So what's safe there? Like, I'm like thinking all these things. I'm like, is there any sort of rules or like set things, or is this all like it's fucking willy nilly, whatever? And I'm like, I don't know. I just started wondering, and I'm like, I should bring this up and ask.
It's funny too, because talking about that, I don't think most teachers have credentials when it comes to Hogwarts. Like, it is their history that defines them.
Really?
It is their past. Yeah.
I feel like Snape has a specialty to potions. He studied potions.
No, right. But like, he doesn't have. Other than that, like,
I feel like that's it's like you're specializing in a
Right.
like if you take an RPG. Like
but there is no set like way to screen someone to be
Sure.
like, hey, you're officially like able to be a teacher, and that comes into play with like that famous guy. Like,
Okay.
Yeah, what's weird? There is no university, I don't think, because like after you take your OWLS test, that places you to your job, depending on.
Here's the other question. They have this whole system of picking your house, right?
yeah,
And
the
it's
sorting.
Yeah, the sorting it, right. But it's like when you see these movies, and I don't remember how the books handled it, but Slytherin is pretty much shit on. It's like you're a villain because one like Hitler went, like if it's like Hitler went to a high school, everyone in that school,
Yeah.
or I don't know, maybe I'm that.
No,
that
no.
works
I mean,
But,
it's
like,
the extreme, but yeah,
pretty much
Hitler's
everyone
from
is-
Slytherin, so
Everyone
therefore
looks at
everyone's-
Slytherin as negative and evil, and it's not. It's just one way of looking at it. Whereas Gryffindor is looked at as heroic. And
'Cause
it's like,
every hero's
they're like
been
the
through that.
jocks to me. I'm like, they just sort of like push their weight around, and I feel like a different perspective or lens could be put to that. But then what I wanted to bring up is, if the Sorting Hat, they have this whole point system, right? Like end of the year, you could win or not. Like, you're
Gryffindor 10 points.
Yeah. I'm assuming there's an even distribution of students in all houses to make it a fair point chance or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And this is again an assumption. But if you're choosing, the Sorting Hat is putting you every year, there's no way there's an
gonna be
even
equal. Yeah.
there's no way there's going to
Right.
be an even distribution. So
I
what
agree.
happens? Like, is it just like this generation is heavily, because like in the first two movies, there's no mention of Ravenclaw or Hufflepuff, none
Mhm.
at all. I'm like, was there like no one in those classes or houses? Like, how does like then I feel like it's a bias, it's a messed up system. I'm like, there's so, and I just like I don't know, like they might address it in fanfic or something. I don't know, but
Yeah, that's what like where you start seeing like there's like a plot hole in the story because it totally missed this point.
Would
of,
you
like, the
agree or
school.
no? If you
I
don't,
agree.
I want to.
I know. I agree. It's just like I just feel like the book would obviously be expanded more, and like I feel like people would be like, oh, that this she didn't really have to go into this whole storyline of this Hufflepuff or into the storyline of what's the other one Ravenclaw because like those people no one in that.
They do later show up.
Yeah, later on in the stories, but I mean, yeah, in the beginning, like it doesn't. And then I think she realizes, like, holy shit, I have 2 other fucking classes, and she starts writing characters that are from those specific halls into the storyline. So then, therefore, she has to talk about their halls as opposed to what she did before. So yeah, she has to start expanding essentially.
Do you have any other like thoughts on this?
There's 2 good examples from X-Men I'm going to bring up. They always have like, well, not always, but they do like tests. Well, they'll have X-Men Blue Team versus Gold Team. We're gonna see if you can break into the X Mansion, and so like I think that's like so cool because like you're kind of testing your fighting ability, but within the school.
Okay.
And I also
within a safe environment.
I'm gonna get really deep into this. I also like when they play sports against each other, and the rule is you cannot use your powers.
Yeah.
And people always they break the rule. But the thing I like about it, because I look at it in the human or the Homo sapien world, like you're gonna be put in situations where you can't act out, and you have this power.
Yeah.
So you have these rules and restrictions, and I feel like it's like kind of meta. Like the reason why we play these games is you're gonna get angered, and you're gonna
your emotions.
and you're just gonna use your powers, and you're not supposed to do that. And it's supposed to teach you to like not use your powers against civilians and stuff. So I think that's really cool about the X-Men. Worst example, Ender's Game.
I was thinking that too.
Dude, that's the worst way, like, because like
to teach kids,
it's like a you think it's a simulation, and you're not gonna act like it's a simulation, and you're gonna play very risky.
We'll see.
Is he walking up?
I don't know. Hello.
This place closes at 10.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Oh. All right, we're back.
From what?
New
What are we
location.
back from?
New podcast. Who this?
I don't know what. CG
Oh no, we gotta do. Okay, and cut. Oh man, we're back. We just like no,
New
it's
podcast.
not gonna work that
Who
way.
this?
Not gonna work that way at all.
So where did we leave off?
Where did we
Ender's
leave
Game
off?
was horrible.
So,
simulation.
No, the last major thought you had was about Xavier's school
How they do things good.
to prevent you from reacting emotionally with your powers.
Right.
And then you segued into other schools that don't have a good system,
Mhm.
one of which was Ender's Game.
Right.
And so I have a thought. That one seems like it's a training. Like you're born into a military,
Mhm.
would you say? It's like they're tricking them into a military, right?
Mhm.
But that's also not like to the public. That's to the most gifted students in a regular school get handpicked and drafted, essentially.
Right.
I feel like that can factor into this. But I guess that could be considered like a power. I don't know. But yeah, I agree. I think that one is, yeah. See?
Honey.
Oh, I can't wait till episode 100. We're going to be in like a pool, like just wading through it.
Just chilling. Have like these all in floaties. Just
You know who else did it good, combat wise? 300, where they handpicked the fittest.
Yeah, but
kids.
but I feel like we're going more into training than we are into
School.
like educate. Like these are places that are trying to do both.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like in that one, you're training for military. One other one I thought of was Jedi Academy, because they do get picked out at a young age and just taken in. And the closest thing I could think of was like a monk, like a monastery. And I thought I started Googling like, what sort of education system do religious like establishments like that have? Like if you come into a monk I think that in monastic education.
Yeah.
They apparently in the older ages had some of the finest education in their areas because everyone else was so much focused on like livelihood and just surviving in agriculture and a variety of other things. They were thinking of like we need to read these texts and all these things.
But
So I'm like,
Yoda's like, fuck the books.
yeah.
Spoilers.
So I don't know. It's just interesting that it approaches, and then we compare it to like. I'm not saying our education is the best. It's not,
But it is.
but it's not.
But it's not.
Because like there could be like. Okay, here's another question for you: are there things you think in these fictional school systems that teach them stuff that you think would benefit us that could apply to like an everyday school system? Like you brought up the whole school thing of like doing sports with that parameter. Do you think anything could apply or no?
I think Dumbledore teaches really good life lessons,
Yeah,
but
I think yeah.
it's tough. But I mean,
I feel like I got to bring up like the fact that I think story-wise or like as like telling a story, telling us that they're learning math, they're learning basic math, they're learning basic English as well as magic at these schools is very boring, as opposed to like learning something we've never known before, like how to transform, how to cause things to float, how to like make potions.
I think as a storyteller though, that's the challenge. Like you could make anything boring or interesting. Like the one example I would say is a lot of these kids don't grow up in the Muggle world, so to them you could find. It doesn't have to be a long scene, but it could just be like,
It'd be amazing.
why does Neville not know anything about like trigonometry, and like what, or like they don't know. Okay, so there was another interesting point brought up by this article. One of the few articles I read about Hogwarts specifically, when they were asked like, what are some of the greatest like things related to England of our time? I think it's in Love Actually. I think maybe I don't know, but they're like the Beatles, Harry Potter, several
Benny
other
Hill.
things. Benny Hill, a few other things. And like Harry Potter is a part of our culture, but like just run with that idea and take it into this fictional world. It doesn't seem like their education system teaches them anything about the cultural or the historical stuff outside of Wizard World. They don't teach them about the war, like the World War II or the stuff going on anywhere else. Whereas I know at least our school systems, we learn about what other cultures were like because history repeats itself.
Yeah.
If you don't learn from it, both the good and the bad. And I feel like that's exposing yourself to other points of view that make you more well-rounded, and that could be lacking.
Mm-hmm.
But the way it seems, like another thing I'll bring up, they didn't know a fucking snake was living in this castle, and I'm like, I feel like the school premises is not safe with all this shit going on and all these things sort of like, but I mean, it's fiction, it's a story, whatever. But like, if you were to make that legit, I don't know how to, like it makes me think like even though it's in present day, it feels like it's shifted into a not so present day.
I think I'm not well versed in it. One fictional world that does well, like learning other people's cultures, is Star Trek. I'm not well versed in it, so I don't know. But it seems like they want to like learn more about different life forms, and
I feel like that's like college. Like when you do the Starfleet Academy and all that stuff. But there was one that I learned about, and I was asking one of my friends, and he was telling me that the recent movies sort of shed light on the Vulcans. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting thing. Like, I wonder how the Vulcans have education systems. So, yeah. I don't know. I just wanted to, like, have a discussion of, like, what you guys think is good, what works, what doesn't work. I don't know. I could definitely see how, like, wizards don't need to learn certain things because they're like, I have a wand. It just circumvents a lot of that. But like you said with the mutants, there might be some value in knowing how to operate when you don't have a wand, because then it's a dependency. But they could know other things now, like
Self-defense.
herbology. Well, even self-defense, like
they don't learn that.
If in my head,
They don't learn combat.
they do. In the second movie, they're taught how to duel.
All right.
But like that's
Oh wait, we're talking about Harry Potter or
what were you talking about? in general?
Xavier, no, School
Mutants.
for Gifted Children and
Yeah.
Mutants. Yeah,
X-Men.
sorry.
I think they do a little bit. I think he's teaching them how to control.
Yeah, how to control their abilities,
'Cause
but
at the
like you were saying, like what happens when a mutant that's able to take your powers takes them away? Like he doesn't teach them hand-to-hand combat.
I think they go. I think the more senior classes start doing a little bit of that.
Oh, but does it show it?
I don't remember.
In the
I know in the
comics-
comics they do. I don't know about the movies.
See, that's where I
Yeah,
lose
yeah,
that
no,
because
I
I don't know
know.
the comics.
You're right.
You know, and then I don't know the books of Harry Potter, so I don't know if it talks about learning
Well,
trigonometry
you
as
haven't
opposed
seen the
to.
movies either.
I don't like your attitude. I've seen enough of the movies to where they don't have to show education anymore later on. It's
What?
just combat.
What?
Combat on combat on combat.
Okay.
Isn't Deathly Hallows all combat? Do they are they
Well, at
still
that point,
learning?
the school's fucked.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like state of emergency. Every day's a furlough.
So I'm
day.
pretty sure I haven't missed much.
You missed a lot. There was something. So, like, they're teaching self-defense with wizardry, like duels, but
Yeah.
they don't teach them how to react to self-defense in a like if you're in a Muggle world, how do you defend yourself? Because
Mm.
it's magic's forbidden in a
Right.
Muggle world.
Kick him in the balls.
Bobby Hill style.
That's not my purse. No, that is.
But
my
then
purse.
I'm thinking like a lot of thoughts come to me of like, so I draw parallels of like the way Xavier teaches the students. There's a lot of obviously symbolism and references to like mutants and segregation and discrimination of like the time like in the 50s and 60s, and I mean it's still prevalent, but that like like that's when it Martin Luther King versus Malcolm X,
Right.
styles of how to react, and he's more of like the passive, like don't react in an aggressive way because that only fuels it more. I know Potter doesn't necessarily deal with that, but one thing that comes to mind with a wand is I think of a wand like it's as much of a tool as it is a weapon, and in the wrong hands it could be a weapon.
right.
And they get them at such an early age, and they can learn literally like as long as they get the knowledge to. And I'm like, well, how can like in today's world, knowledge is so readily available, and I feel like in the wizarding world is if you find the right book, it's similar.
Mm-hmm.
And if you learn how to make a gun or to do whatever, like you could be dangerous. And I don't think if there was one thing I would want besides like more structure or something, or like some basic education, it would be some sort of course. Like I know Dumbledore does it, but it's specifically to like Potter
Right.
and like Hermione and them. But like as a classroom, be like the ethics of being a good person, or like philosophy or something where it's like teaching them how to like how Xavier does with the mutant powers, like use this for good, not for evil, because they don't like really have any like. Fucking Tom Riddle has so many signs of being a disruptive, like a messed up student,
Mhm.
and you're like looking at all these like school shootings. It's like the signs were there, and I'm like, the fucking signs were there with Tom Riddle,
Yeah.
like time and time again. And I don't know, like arguments could be made, and I feel like there's similarities in that
Mhm.
of like
This
What-
is
what-
another. This is another topic, but you know how like Riddle comes up to Dumbledore, he's like, "Please give me a job." If Dumbledore gave him that job, do you think he would have turned out that way?
I don't know. I feel like it could have definitely impacted it in one way or another. But like, yeah, like I just look at a lot of that stuff, and it's like, could this have been prevented? Like, in a lot of ways, at least at that school. And I feel like there's lessons to be had in that of where the story goes because of that. And you see examples of the good with like Ron, Harry, Neville, even Malfoy for a lot of it. But like, it's crazy. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah.
I think. And just like learning or not learning how many other schools or education like I started going like off the beat path. Like Miss Frizzle definitely taught these kids a lot, or I don't know. Some other-
Another one is like Ready Player One, where they
yeah.
learn in the beginning, like
In the game?
the movie and the book start out with like, or no, actually the movie doesn't even mention it, I think. But the
briefly.
book mentions like, all right, now kids learn by hopping into the thing.
Yeah.
But then like he's still in school.
Yeah.
And it gets to the point where it's like school is no longer a thing, and he's just looking to make the money from finding this.
But I mean, the bad thing is like Holiday made that challenge, and now kids are learning useless trivia knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's to them. I mean, it's money, but it's important. But That's
It's like a dystopia of like what is and isn't
Yeah.
important. Yeah, it's definitely food for thought. Do you guys want to go into someone else's topic?
Yeah, let's move on to the next one. We can do mine.
Okay.
So with mine, I'm sure you guys have played a game where you get to a room, there's like pots or there's extra stuff, there's chests that you like open it up and it like fully heals you, full mana, there's a save point. You're like, that next room has a fucking boss in it, dude. I'm ready for this shit now. What is the real life equivalent to seeing these signs and knowing that you're about to like hit some shit's about to hit the fan? And that's for real life shit. So I'm gonna start with one. Let's say that you have a job, you're called into the office, and like all the managers are there. They're like all in the round table, one seat open for you, and you're just like, I'm either fired or I'm about to get a promotion. It's like one of the two.
I feel like a similar one for me would be like when unscheduled, outside of routine, our management decides to have a team meeting.
Right.
And there's no like, it's not just team meeting and like there's some text. It's like team meeting with like the shortest like prompt of like why we're having the music. We need to talk. I'm like, oh shit. Like update resume, get my books, my desk.
You
in
like
order.
get your flash drive. Is my resume still in there? Good. All right. I just have to update it.
real life example. I'm gonna throw it back to like the army days.
Yeah.
We had to do like it's like an 8-mile road march, but they made it 12 miles.
Oh my god.
And so they're like, yeah, we're going to do 4 more extra miles. We're just like, man, I was like, man, F this, dude. Popped in ibuprofen and because I was hurting, dude. Body was aching and it was like a potion. You know,
This is another.
you felt no pain
That's your health potion.
till the next day.
Another one is like relationship wise, when they're just like out of the blue, we need to talk, and you're just like, oh shit,
My head goes to the worst places when that fucking shit happens. Like, hey, I want to tell you something. I'm like, don't do that to me.
We need
Tell
to
me
talk.
right now,
Let me
or don't even bring it up.
let me put my feet on the ground. Go for it. Just
When
tell
you
me.
come home, we need to talk.
Well, it's not like 9 out of 10 times. It's usually just like, I had an extra cookie, and I'm like, motherfucker, like my heart's like racing, or like, I don't want to go to that convention. Is that okay? Or like some silly thing.
Or in the
I'm
case of you, I finished all of season 2 Stranger Things.
yeah, that's true, huh? I pulled that shit. I'm like, the other time would have been I took a day off work to play Pokemon. When I told you I was out. Like,
That's funny.
yeah,
Do you have
fair,
another
fair.
one?
I've done it. Yeah. It sucks though being on the other end. But when I bring it up, and then I say it right there. If
Yeah,
it's
it's like,
on-
hey, we need to talk. Nothing big.
and then he's like, or no, like, oh, no, never mind. And I'm like, what? Like, you can't never mind. But I feel like this is different. For me, I think another one would be like a gas station, like a pit stop, because I'm like, you don't know when the next one is. Like if especially it's like on a drive you've never done before.
Right.
You're like, I better stock up, whatever. To get rid of,
Get all the
alleviate-
snacks.
Yeah, alleviate myself, whatever. Another one would have to be this town center, because we never know when a bathroom is locked. I don't want to take care of all the business.
Gotta take care of all the business.
Yeah.
Another one is like, this is, I guess, in regards to like, how when family has to intervene with like, your issues or something. So like, if you have an addiction, whether it be major or not so major, and you come home and like everyone's just sitting around, and they're just like,
Well, how do you prepare for that? That's not
You
even
need to
like
sit
the.
right. But like you walk in and you just notice everyone in the chair, and you're just like, fuck.
Do you have? Is there a room to heal
You're
real
just
quick?
like, there isn't a room. It's just like you walked into the boss fight. Like it's
Yeah.
those fucked up games where you don't heal, you don't save before.
It's like Breath of the Wild. You just started the cutscene. You're like, oh fuck.
Another one.
I glided all the way to Ganondorf's like tower, and all of a sudden it was the boss fight. I was like, I haven't saved. This is the last fucking boss fight.
Another one. When your navigation tells you you're gonna arrive in like 30 minutes, you're like, challenge accepted. We're gonna make this 15.
No, for me, when I drive home from work, I check the traffic and it's like hour plus. I'm like, if I don't use the bathroom now, I'm fucked. It's like I gotta get in road trip mentality. Those are just. I can't think of anything else.
The next one is this isn't like anything crazy, but you're in a movie theater and the lights just like dim down. You're just like, oh, it's just about to start.
Yeah. If I were to get like, I try to get into the movie theater before the credits or
Right.
before the trailers start,
Mhm.
and everything leading up to the trailers, I'm like, okay, we have a system now because our bladders are fucking like tiny. I don't know why, or it's our mentality with a movie
Yeah.
theater because we get anxious and nervous. We're like, all right, go to the bathroom right when we get to the theater. Go to the bathroom 5 minutes before the trailers start, just as a precaution. And then we're set. And even then, there's a chance. But like all that lead up to the
So yeah, it's the prepare room when the lights are on and then they dim down. You're like, can't ever leave the seat ever again. I really got no more.
That's
So that was a fun one.
No mas.
Little fun one there.
little, just throw it in there.
Little
That was
salt
good.
bay.
That was good. Jang.
And so Nintendo announced a new Switch, which comes to no surprise.
They didn't announce it. Allegedly.
Is rumors.
To be accurate, like people are gonna start going like IGN. The thing that it was there was a Japanese like financial meeting,
Okay.
Japanese Nintendo, and they mentioned that there will likely be like they're aiming towards having a Q3 or Q4 of next year updated Switch hardware.
All right.
And they could briefly mention like some of the ideas, but nothing was set.
Okay.
But like that was the like we want something hopefully by then. So
Okay.
they have it on their mind.
I mean, it's gonna happen because
Yeah,
they've done
yeah.
it
They
with,
usually like
all
if they
their-
say they want it to happen. then-
with the exception of Wii U and Wii.
Well, I think it's largely been handheld. Like
Right.
if you look at every handheld, every year or two
Mhm.
has been an iteration of it.
So, what do you guys want?
Out from-
Improvements on this Nintendo Switch.
I'm gonna go with the ultimate right off the bat, dude. I want this new one to be able to handle Red Dead Redemption 2.
That's the ultimate.
That's it. That's it. That's what I want.
I don't know. If that's
Powerful processor GPU.
Yeah, just upgraded graphics and
Destiny 2. Make it perfect.
Jeez.
Make
shit.
it perfect.
But you gotta pay
It's like,
$20 a
It's
year.
like yours. It's like no, the real. And it's like perfection.
It's
Okay,
just Destiny.
So what you want is a more powerful.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. I think it's gonna be like the smaller ones that we're gonna mention. I don't want to just say them right now and just like take over all your
Fine.
guys' ones.
All right, Jay.
Battery life is the big problemo, which I think it's going to be more efficient. Yeah, I guess you know what? I don't sit.
It's not. I wouldn't. To me, I wouldn't say it's a problem.
Uh-huh.
I would say it would be an improvement.
Yes,
Oh, a big improvement.
Yeah.
battery life.
What, do
'Cause,
you,
like-
what if they said a number? What would your number? What number would
10
make you
hours
happy?
is cool.
Yeah,
What is it
right
now?
4, 6?
3 to 5.
Okay.
Okay.
Depending, like if you're
I
playing
think-
like Dead Cells, I think it's like 4.
For me, the
If
bare
you're
minimum
playing
that
Odyssey.
number 3 should be a 6. It should be 6 to whatever higher number.
Okay.
So like 6 to 9 hours.
What if it comes at a cost?
What do you
That's
mean?
fine because
cost?
like
Frame rate or
Oh.
I don't
no,
feel like
no,
a
no,
cost
no,
like
no.
that. I feel like a cost of like actual monetary. Like
no, no,
it
no.
would be, and then also a bigger size system. So like
Oh.
I would maybe even
Mm.
something that you can implement like retroactively, where it's like it's a battery cover case where like you know how like you
more of an
had
ex-
it for
the
for the
3DS,
3DS,
yeah.
where it just makes it more bulkier,
That was
but
the
your
third
shit
party.
doesn't fucking die.
Yeah.
Like you know you 10 years later and you're like
14-hour
haven't
battery.
charged it. You know. Something like that. So it would be it would be a cost of it being a thicker system after, and the dock
Most
not
likely.
fucking accepting it.
Yeah, I think they want to make something that'll work with existing accessories.
I doubt it.
I 100% think.
I
that'll
doubt
work.
it.
They
Why?
have to.
Why?
Like,
I don't think that's in their minds. I think
Why? Like everything that they're selling right now is expensive as fuck.
yeah.
Right.
I bought really expensive Joy-Cons, custom ones. They better
not-
work on this new system.
Yeah, they're not. I
They
feel like
better work on this new system.
I feel like whatever it is, it'll be to the centerpiece, the body of it.
Yeah.
And so the two things that I would say have to me would have to stay the same is the dimensions for it to dock,
Mm-hmm.
and then the Joy-Con interface has to be the same. I feel like that's the important things that they should keep working the same. That way, any purchases you've made thus far, with in terms of Joy-Cons or docks or whatever, that's like licensed, not like third-party shit. They don't have anything.
Well, I'm just saying, like, when it comes to like a battery add-on, it's not going to be able to stay within those dimensions.
Yes, it can. Make it longer.
That's going to be
Ooh.
And
And
making
then-
it fatter and having to buy a new dock, is it?
The thing is, so from my understanding is it's going to have to attach somehow to the bottom/back part of it. Because the bottom has
What is it gonna have to?
the battery add-on.
So you're saying it's an add-on? It's not a part of the machine?
Oh, see, so that's where I guess it was getting kind of weird. So I feel like the new one would have it as a permanent thing, and then they would have to retroactively, because I've said it would have to be retroactively
Oh, you're saying
being able to add to the
ones you
current
could
one.
add on?
Yeah,
Oh, I don't think they'll be.
as a system. Okay, so that's where
Well,
it gets weird.
I see
Okay.
what you're saying. I see what
Okay,
you're saying now.
and I also see what you're saying now. When it's one system now that has an add-on on already,
Okay.
permanent.
So you're saying your first one was the higher game power.
The power,
Your
which I
first
don't
one, the
think
Red
is
Dead.
very
Yours was battery. I think mine would be. I had it. Fuck.
It's gone, dude. Sorry. Memory,
I'm not feeling so well, Mr. Stone.
connectivity.
Fuck. Come back to me.
My next one's screen.
What about it?
A better screen. So like
Oh, yes.
higher
Frame
higher
rates.
resolution.
Damn.
See, but that I think frame rate goes back to hardware though,
The power.
as opposed to So I think I'd want a better resolution screen,
okay.
and then maybe like a like those whatever the highest end like LED or LCD or
I think it's AMOLED. It's like
AMOLED?
the iPhone.
Okay.
And they mentioned that. That was one of the few things they were like, if we make a better screen, the efficiency of the battery will be better as well.
Ooh.
And so it was sort of like a tandem thing, but those screens are costlier. So,
It would cost more.
but okay, so here's a thought, and I'll bring this as instead of like a thing I'll bring up, it'll be a question. Is there have been times where the DS, I'll use the DS as an example. It hasn't always been an improvement. It's all sometimes been like here's a lighter version, like the 2DS, the original 2DS, like no flip, the tablet thing.
Didn't have a good screen?
No, I'm just saying it was a more affordable option.
Oh, I
it,
gotcha,
it might
I
not
gotcha.
go the route of like let's make a buffed version, let's make a lighter, cheaper version. What
I
if
see
it's
you're
like a
saying.
version
for the whole
of it?
system?
What if it's like this is handheld only? The Joy-Cons are like attached.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, something where it's like this thing is limited. It
Yeah.
doesn't like we took out the dock, or I don't know. I'm just making some way where it makes it's like this is a handheld
which
only.
is funny you bringing that up. I think if they make like a smaller, cheaper version where like the Joy-Cons are like permanently attached, like they're molded into the case, it would still work as a docked system,
No, that wouldn't work.
and it would also still work as you being able to attach.
No, but now you can't play like half the games because half these games are like motion control. This other shit wouldn't work.
No, right, but like that's where the you can have extra Joy-Cons that you would connect
yeah.
and then use those extra when you're trying to go on like the screen mode. But yeah, it's not gonna. It would already probably not come with extra Joy-Cons. So out of the box, you can only use it as handheld.
Yeah.
And then unless you already had a Switch or unless you buy $60 Joy-Cons or like they're $80, right? They're like $79.99.
70, yeah.
You're not gonna get the that remote play.
I'm trying to think. I don't have a lot of I want whatever they do to not be such a big thing that it makes people regret their current purchases.
I regret it already.
You bought 2 already.
Yeah, I regret it.
Like 5.
Yeah.
Keith's bought 20. Like where does it stop?
It never stops.
Hard drive space. Please make 500 gigabytes of the fucking standard. Please.
Wait, like the onboard?
Onboard 500 gigabyte because
Oh.
the current gen consoles are doing it. Please.
Well, I mean, I don't think the games for the
Or-
Switch are that big.
Still. 250.
I have 128 and I can fit like 50
I
games
just
in there.
installed a 400 gig micro SD. It was cheap. It was a big deal.
How much was it?
Like 60?
That's cheap. Because that's even cheaper than a 256.
Yeah. It was a one-day deal. I was like, I'm on it. And I had to give. It's
missed
kind of
out.
Black Friday. They're for sure just going to be like.
I'm ready.
Not even money. It's little memory chips. It's gonna toss out.
But I mean, like, I already used up half my 128 with indie games.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
these aren't even mainstream games.
Yeah,
Like,
You're going mostly digital too, huh?
I'm all digital,
Yeah.
baby.
That's where it comes up, is where it's digital. I don't know. I'm thinking of like. I could be like I'm thinking like super dumb, and this will probably piss people off more. It's like this version of the Switch is an entertainment system, so they'll allow Netflix, Hulu, HBO,
Facebook.
and those to work on this new Switch. And the current Switch is just like games only. Well, Hulu's technically on it, but
They need to bring back something social like Street Pass. They have to.
me
They have to
Miiverse.
bring something like
this
Street
is,
Pass.
This is what I would have. This is what I would have. They would emphasize the portable. So new screen. I'm combining yours and I'm adding mine as like the package. Nicer screen, which makes the battery more efficient. And what they would include is a data plan. And you could lump it in with your Nintendo Online service for one larger monthly fee. And now you can play this Wi-Fi anywhere. You don't need Wi-Fi. You're just on,
Oh, so you're talking about like a cellular,
like a tablet, like a Apple tablet. You can get like the Wi-Fi version, or you can get the 3G or 4G.
I always hated that shit. When it came to the Vita, the Vita had the 3G / Wi-Fi or just Wi-Fi.
You can make phone calls on Skype with that thing.
I was like, this is such a scam.
Well, what they could, okay, I guess if they wanted to add more SKUs, they could have a Wi-Fi version and a 3G version. You could get the nicest screen, battery life, Wi-Fi version, which is like what we have,
I think making
or
it easy.
the 4G version, and that could then enable street passing to be easier.
I think to make it easy is they sell one unit that has both capabilities,
And you pay.
and you just like everyone
Right.
just buys like because it does make it difficult where it's like here's a
Yeah,
you
you're
know
right.
when it came to the Vita there was like
You're right.
here's a $300 Wi-Fi only or here's like a $400
Yeah.
Wi-Fi / 3G and I was like that's dumb like just fucking make it
Yeah,
a
so
fucking,
make one, but make it so if you want to enable it,
Yeah.
you have to pay the monthly fee.
yeah exactly
Yeah, that's I got that right now. I would consider it.
I wouldn't be down. I just would not be down. Like, I just feel like
I mean, think of like just alone Fortnite. Kids, so many people would buy.
yeah,
that.
for them it'd be good. For me, I just like the idea like of having to pay extra to continue playing online anywhere I wanted to. It's just like it's
PS
just so much
Plus.
money when I don't need to. Like,
I mean, it depends on if you're playing those types of games.
Yeah.
On PlayStation, you are, so you're paying PS Plus. On this, yeah. If you're not, then you're not.
I never liked the 3G / mobile.
What did you like about it? Was it the games you weren't playing?
No, it was
that
an
way?
additional bill. Like I already had a cell phone with 3G on it. I don't need to pay another like cell phone bill to be able to have my system be connected all the time.
But you do.
I don't want to. I like it's just so much more money. Like it's like
So you're
I'm
willing
paying,
to do it for one console then? What I'm saying is you're already doing that.
right. So like
You're not willing to do it on any other. You're like one is enough.
the thing is like I pay for internet, and then these consoles connect to the internet, and then obviously those consoles have a monthly fee for like the online connectivity. But PlayStation or Sony's Nintendo's doing that. But what I feel like you're talking
this
about
is another thing.
This
on
is
that.
another thing on
Yeah,
top of the
that's
$20
fair.
because it's going to be 3G that you're paying for.
Fair. Okay. That's my prediction.
That's a terrible prediction.
Because I feel like it will be a big enough thing to be like, here's a plus for the people that want to go for more battery, nicer
Yeah.
screen, play anywhere. At least in this my proposal, but it doesn't. I don't think hinder anyone that already bought one this last year or two, which they're pushing. Like they want people to play those.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can't think of anything else like
Yeah.
to add to this thing without making it like a new console altogether. Like maybe more Joy-Con options, but like the other cool thing would be if like they have a program in which you return your Switch body for if you wanted to get
Oh.
into this. It's an exchange. Like I think they do that with iPhones now, where it's like if you return your
That
old
would be
one,
cool.
it works. It like
You get $10 credit towards a new one. Yeah.
because not the GameStop system, like directly with Nintendo. I don't know something.
That would be
I
cool.
saw a recent video of Linus Tech Tips. This guy, you know,
Yeah.
he does computers.
Yeah.
He bought like the most newest iMac Pro, which
Yeah.
is like the desktop version. It's just a
Oh,
screen.
Yeah.
Theirs broke, and it was still within like warranty, and they had their tech people call Apple, and Apple's like, yeah, we can't fix it. You need to buy a whole new unit.
Oh shit.
So then they like opened. They were like, okay, it's a
We'll
lost
do it.
cause. They completely opened up the thing, and they're like, we'd like to buy this motherboard, and they're like, it's $4,000 for just the motherboard. They're like, if we give you this old motherboard, can you give us a new one discount? And they're like, yes, we can do a recycle program. But like it was like they don't want to fix the actual computer, and then
Wow.
once they open it up, they're like, yeah, we'll do it, I guess. But like, I was like, what the hell? And so they had the guy who's completely against Apple. This guy's works in New York. He repairs MacBook Pros, and he always talks shit on Apple because like he's like, Apple doesn't allow third-party repairs. Like they're like, they only do first-party, and when you send in a phone, they're like, it's broken, buy a new one. Like that's all you can do. And so he opens it up. He like finds like old schematics that like Apple doesn't generally release, but he finds them, and he's like, "This is the replacement you need." He'll like switch out other phones to make one good one. He'll sell it to back to the customer like at a reduced
So he
cost.
did it with this guy?
And so this one, the guy Linus invited him and was like, "Hey, can you help me put this MacBook back together again?" And they put it back together, but he's like, at one of the points, the guy was like, "How much do you think this motherboard cost?" He's like, "Oh, like I see this board costing $1,800." Like, no, he's like, yeah. Talk to the them at $5,000. He's like, what? And he's like, yeah, $5,000 for a brand new one. Like that's the price of the fucking unit.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So that's why Apple $10 for a return in for an exchange.
No, I think Nintendo's would have to be something that would be worth considering.
Right.
Be like, that's not a bad. Like, I don't feel like if I wanted to opt in and buy this new one, but I had the old one, I could mitigate my costs.
I wonder what's more cost effective if you send your whole system with Joy-Cons and they send you a whole new system with Joy-Cons. Because I feel like the body thing is weird because then they have to make separate units where you only send them the body back. Like when you get the body, or when you send the body, Nintendo receives it. They have to have a unit that's not been packaged, and they
just
send you that.
Sell the Joy-Cons and because they sell Joy-Cons all the time by themselves.
Right, but those are manufactured separately, and I feel it's more cost effective to create a whole unit with Joy-Cons that's getting packaged because it's all automated. Like it's like the system's made, the Joy-Cons are made, it's attached, it's thrown in a box. It's like
they're not. Are they?
But they're
on
all
the
made.
box? I forget.
I don't think. No, I think you're right. But they're all made at the same time, and like the machine packages them together, and that's cost effective as opposed to that's why Joy-Cons are like $80 on their own because it's not cost effective to make them on their own.
I don't know about that. Up for debate. I'll say. I mean I see what you could be saying. I just don't know whether that's
Production value.
what they're doing. Because Nintendo charges arm and a leg no matter what you buy from them. So
I'm probably going to get the new console. You know why?
Rumble Pack.
If you look at their track record, when the DS came out, the improvement between the first DS and the second generation is a lot. Improvement between the first Game Boy Advance and the second generation was a lot. There's like
Game Boy,
big
Game Boy Color
improvements after every second generation.
But then after the second one,
Yeah, then you
It's
can
like,
skip.
who
Yeah, you
fucking
can
knows?
kind of skip, dude. Micro.
3DS XL,
Yeah.
2DS,
Right.
2DS, new
2DS
new 3D,
XL.
new 3DS. No, there is 2DS XL. It's that newest one.
It's a tablet.
No, it's the no. That was the 2DS. The 2DS XL was the one at
Oh,
the really
Super
cheap,
Nintendo? No,
no, the super cheap plastic one.
All I know is they go back.
Where
They're like,
it has no 3D feature. It's just like
I feel like they go back and they're like 2D flip, and like it just closes. You're like, what the fuck? That's the original.
there's at least 8 SKUs, 8 different names for this fucking thing. Yeah, eventually we'll get there. But I agree. I think that they're usually on a track for the second one being a sleeker, which is it's already a sleek unit. So I'm like, I can't imagine. What kind of price tag do you think that would be?
Just bring back micro SD, dude.
Same.
It is.
I think it's going to
Or
be the same.
what is it? The Game Boy
Same.
SD.
Same?
Because they're going to make it for cheaper. They're
Are they?
making it more cost efficient. The article said it was going to be more. It's going to be cheaper to produce.
Yeah, but
so,
they're gonna charge.
Nah,
they're
it's
gonna
going
be
to
like
be.
bigger
It
profit.
has to be the same price. They can't.
don't
They
know.
can't charge.
I feel like they'll be like, we'll discount older ones, and put this one at the.
But what's
at-
crazy is they don't make a lot of profit out of a system. I think it costs about $270 to make a system, the parts. So they're only making $30
No
in
wonder
profit.
they're charging $70 for Joy-Cons.
Yeah, it's like $30 in profit.
Okay.
But I mean, the Xbox was making a negative profit at one point. The Xbox One,
Oh, okay.
they were losing money. PlayStation 4 makes not that much either.
I think they were cutting even in the beginning and then slowly getting profits towards it.
Yeah. Okay.
We've completely turned around from Nintendo and are talking about everything else now.
Well, we're comparing. But I'm thinking. One thing, small thing I would add. Fix the fucking kickstand. That thing is a piece of shit.
Flimsy.
That is
Yes,
like
yes. And why is that the cover for the fucking memory card? That doesn't
That
make
too.
any sense.
like there were times where I'm in handheld mode and I'm just like my fingers like touches this thing and it just like loose and I'm like, what the fuck?
I think they could have like extended the size of where the game cartridge goes to make room for the memory card. So then it's
Sure.
like a little
Yeah.
longer, and so the cover covers both the game cartridge and the memory.
Well, it could be like I think a lot of
Like phones?
like GoPros or phones have it. Where GoPros, I'm thinking like there's always for cameras. There's always the battery and there's a little slot next to it for the micro SD. Have that be the cartridge and right
but
next
then
to
like
it
there's a cover for the whole. for both, yeah.
God
The-
damn. The PS4 only makes $18. It costs so much.
Wow.
18.
But then they probably make profits
Right,
from
yeah.
the games
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
accessories and all this.
Nintendo makes like
And people only
17
buy
or-
these things like 1 or 2 or 3 in 5-6 years, and then interesting stuff, guys. Interesting stuff.
All I know is buy Nintendo stock before Direct, and then sell it after the Direct.
Weekly DLC is not liable for any stock
Yeah, we don't
advice
advise
that we give you.
to use any financial
Let that be
advice.
known. Guys, where can they find you?
On the stock market at the Folio 365 or the Folio everywhere else.
We need a meme of you like buy, sell.
At the Last Bosses everywhere.
At the Weekly DLC, in a conference room, by a swimming pool, in a plaza,
Buy a water fountain.
by a water fountain. You can find me at Kuja Prime. You can find us all at the Weekly DLC. We don't know where we'll be next time, but you'll see an episode from us. So until next time, we'll...
DLC.
You later.